Okay, so what we had just done before my camera said that it needed some more battery power is that we had basted the left side of the short onto the zipper tape, and we had just zipped it up to make sure that everything matched up and everything was looking pretty good. So that's great. What we want to do now is we want to position the fly shield, which is the separate piece that we then turned. And what we want to do is you want to make sure that you have the wrong side of your shield, so the part that has that raw edge where you did your turn and stitch, and you want to place that face down, I guess wrong side down, on top of the wrong side of the zipper. And you see how on the back side we can see this top stitching curve? And what we want to do is we really want to try to line up, just line the sample up so it just goes over and rests on top of that curved shape. And then what we'll do is we'll just pin this in place. And what I'm doing is I'm going on one side of the zipper and popping my pin up on the other side just to hold the whole unit down in one place. Okay, and I think two pins should actually do it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it to the front side, and I'm just going to stitch right along this edge. I'm going to baste it in place, and I'm just going to stitch right along this edge. I'm not going to stitch this flap down, but I'm just going to stitch right along that edge, stitching through the left part of the short, the zipper, and the fly shield. Okay, so again, make sure that you have your basting stitch set to 4, and then we're going to start at the top, and just like we're putting this in temporarily, so you know we'll be taking this out pretty soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run my presser foot, and I'm going to move my needle over so it's a little bit closer, and then just make sure that my basting stitch is still at 4. So my needle is closer to the overlap on the right front short, and I'm just going to stitch right along that edge with that long basting stitch, and I'm not going to worry about back stitching. I'm just going to stitch that right along the edge with my regular foot right now. Okay, and I think that got a little bit caught. I want to make sure that my crotch area is out of the way. So make sure that yours is out of the way too. And again, we're just temporarily kind of putting this in place. Then when I get down to the bottom, I can lift it up and trim off those thread tails. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out those pins, and I'm going to switch my feet to put on my zipper foot. And I want to open up my zipper so that I can stitch right along this folded edge line here. So I'm going to stitch from the bottom of the zipper going up. So I'm just going to I'm going to make sure that my needle is back in the center position, I guess, first of all. And I'm going to press the pull tab of that zipper just upward so I can get my piece underneath to make sure that I select the proper side of my zipper foot. And I'm going to select my presser foot arm onto the right side here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put that zipper down all the way so that it's at the stop, and then I'm just going to start right on top of it, right in front of that zipper, and then I'm going to close it and come back, because I just in my experiences, at least what I've been having with the zippers today, is that I'm really struggling to kind of get around that pull. So I'm just on the far edge in front of that zipper, and it's open. And then I'm just going to go ahead and lower my needle in, and I'm running the tongue of that zipper foot just right along that coiled edge. Alright, and I'm not going to do any back stitching because I'm going to come back and kind of finish things off later. Finish off in the other direction. So just make sure that when you move your needle location, you also want to make sure that you readjust that stitch length so that you're stitching at the proper length that you need. And I'm just going to finish that all the way to the top, and then I'm going to do some back stitching at the top. And then go ahead and take that out. So just to get a close-up of of what we did was we came in, that's just the thread tail that's kind of hanging out. Came in and did a stitch right along that folded edge here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to zip it up far enough so I can come back. And finish it in the other direction. And in order to do that, I think I'm going to try to stitch going down towards the bottom, and I just have to switch sides of my zipper foot here. Let me make sure my threads are out of the way. Line that up, making sure that I overlap a couple stitches. And then I'm just going to stitch down as far as I can. Overlap probably about 4 stitches or so. And I'm just going to go as far as I can down into that, down in there towards that zipper stop. And I'm going to do a back stitch if I can, real close, and then pull that thread out and trim everything up. Alright, then I'm just going to, while I'm on the back side, I'm just going to make sure that I have all of my threads trimmed up as best that I can. Okay. Okay, I got a couple more threads here, thread tails there. Coming in and trimming them up, and if you have some, like on your overlaps, if they aren't perfect, you can always remove a couple too. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is now, while the zipper is still open, and this is especially important if your zipper, the top of your zipper extends beyond, but where we are at is like this is really at like the perfect location to attach a 5/8 inch a waistband to the top of this pair of pants. So just know that if your zipper, the edge of your zipper is about right even with the top, then you're looking pretty good. But if yours extends beyond, and it all depends upon the pattern, then this is what you'll have to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a row of stitching, just while everything is flat. I'm just going to do a row of stitching right across the top, and then I'll show you what you'd want to do. Oh man, I think that my stitch length is a little too short. Let me make sure that I don't want to have this get pulled down into the bobbin case, and I think that's what was happening there. Maybe it's because my facing piece isn't turned back as good as it should be. Let's see if I can take this out so I can start fresh. Alright. Maybe I won't do some back stitching. I'll stitch it at 3/8, maybe that'll just hold that presser foot will hold it down better. Alright, I'm just going to do a quick back stitch, and then I'm just going to stitch all the way across the top here, and then I'm just going to back stitch and go backwards across that that zipper tape. And so if this was an extension of, if your zipper tape was extending beyond the top, then you would just come back, and you want to make sure that you want to back stitch, and then you can just trim off whatever you don't need. But the way that mine is setting is that it's fairly even, but if yours sticks up on the top a little bit, just go ahead and do this step, and this is outlined in your construction packet. Alright, and then our last and final step is that we will want to do a bar tack just right at the bottom of where the stop is at, the zipper stop. And so to do a bar tack, you can either do one by hand, or you can just use your machine and go across the seam line at the bottom of the placket, making sure that you kind of catch in that fly shield that we put in. So I'm just going to try to lay this out as flat as I can. As flat as I can get it. And then I'm going to put a zigzag on. And I'm going to shorten up the stitch length so it's about at maybe about half, or like just under 1. And then I'm going to come in from the left side and then cross over and go to the right. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of tacking down all of that fabric, and it's going to be done right at the bottom of where this curve comes in and meets everything. So I'm just going to do a quick bar tack, joining the left and the right short sides. Alright, hopefully I won't have too much problems with this, just because we're going through quite a bit of thickness. Alright, now I'm going to go slow, and I'm actually going to help push it a little bit with my hands. Alright, and so I think I'm done there, and I'm just going to do a little back stitch, call it good, raise my needle up, and then trim those threads off. Now if you don't want your zipper or your zigzag to be as wide, you can just not select it to all the whole dark green line on your zigzag options. Alright, so that's your fly front zipper. What you're going to want to do is go back and just remove all your basting stitches along the side here and trim up all your thread tails, both on the front and back of your sample, and label it and put it in your binder. Good job today.